Welcome everybody, you're tuned in to the 6th episode to Agile Toolkit tutorial. Your hosts are, as always, Romans and Armin, and we have a special guest, Dimitri, with us today. If you enjoy this tutorial, you'll find all of the series on our website, agiletoolkit.org/tutorial. Today, we want to talk about how to change designs and especially talk about templates, and these will be the two major topics for today, and Romans, bring it on.
Okay, hi everyone. In this tutorial we will go through a number of topics such as changing the default look and feel of Agile Toolkit, looking at how CSS is working, how templates are working, what kind of features we already have and what kind of feature you could add, and also I will closer introduce you to the concept of views, how we can build the custom views and make them pretty smart and self-aware of what's going on. And also we will look into another component of Agile Toolkit called Pathfinder, which essentially dictates where everything can be located and where things are searched for.
So, and I think talking about changing something of the standard layout, the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, there's always this Agile Toolkit logo in the upper left corner. And I think this is probably the one thing people want to change first. And how can I do that? Because it's the Lost and Find website, it's not the Agile Toolkit website.
Okay, I have asked Dimitri to prepare a new logo for us for Lost and Found, and he just sent me literally a couple of minutes ago. This is what he sent. How do you like this, Armin?
Nice, clean and pretty.
Not bad. So the first challenge would be to change our existing logo to this new logo. And as we start doing that, I will now look much more into HTML. I will start at looking at inspector and looking what kind of path it is using for the logo. And as you can see, it goes into the ATK4 folder inside templates, inside shared, and picks the logo. As I have mentioned in one of the first screencasts, we never change anything inside ATK4. Instead, we can put stuff outside. And let me just show you how we could do that. So we need to have a similar path. So we're going into templates first, inside default, and then we need to have folder images with the folder logo inside there. I'm going to create, what is the new folder here?
Oops.
Images. Works this way, and the logo. Okay, so far nothing have changed. We need to match exactly the same name for the logo to have it work. Okay, let's see if this works. And it does, but it has a blue background. Now, the question is, why is a blue background? And it is because the logo is transparent. And let me just move it back a little bit and explain to you why is it like this. If you look at the default logo of Agile Toolkit, it automatically picks the color of the theme. So if you create a different theme, you will see that the logo actually changes its color. In the way how it's built, it has the white stuff around it, but the actual logo is transparent. So if you see I move it around, you see the transparency inside. It's kind of a trick to get some colors from CSS inside here, but I don't think we actually need is for a new logo. So what I'll try to do now myself is to get rid of the transparency. Okay, he sent us a proper logo. Yay!
Ah, wonderful.
Good job. Dmitry saved the day. So I will be dropping that instead. Saved us some trouble with the logo. Okay, I demonstrated my appalling skills in a design, but we do have a nice logo now, and we did change the logo just to demonstrate to you that if the image is present locally, you see now it is actually using our local path. It's not going into ATK4 anymore, but it's using the path to the local. So the natural question would be, why is it doing like that, and what other folders it looks images inside, and how the whole thing is working. And first I want to show you the file called the main template of the whole thing, which is shared HTML, and by default it is located inside ATK4 folder /templates. Now we're going to do the same thing with this shared file. We're going to put it inside our templates default folder.
And in case you don't know, this shared HTML is like the basic HTML that will be used as a default template for all of the pages. So this is like really the basic HTML template. And when Roman says the local folder, he means our folder that we create outside of ATK4 folder, where we put our own templates in there.
Yeah, and to distinguish and just to make sure that it works properly, I'm going to change the title to Lost and Found. And let's see if title has changed, which confirms that we are now using the local file in here for shared. And now let's see how this logo is being included. So there's a special place for this logo. This is how it is defined. And as you can see, there is this tag around it. This is a standard tag of Agile Toolkit, and what this tag means, the Agile Toolkit will look into a couple of folders to find this exact file. Once it will find it, it will calculate what is the proper URL for that file and will stick it inside this spot here. I'm going to misspell this on purpose and show you what happens then. So it says unable to include image logo, and you can see here a list of attempted locations where it tried to find this image. So first it went into Hangouts, Lost and Found, Templates, Default, Images. That's our local folder. Then it went inside ATK4 Templates Default, and then finally it tried Lost and Found ATK4 Templates Shared, and this is where the logo initially was, and we have moved it locally. So this is a really fundamental principle of kind of pushing files aside, and it works not only for templates but for anything really, including the PHP files and JavaScript files, which is really convenient because if something in Agile Toolkit is not up to your liking, either a template or a PHP class, you can simply create exactly the same file in your local folder and it will override the one from Agile Toolkit.
And the only thing that you really have to take care about is that the path to the file that you want to change is exactly the same path as it's in the ATK4 folder, just that it's in your local folder.
That's right. I will briefly look inside this Pathfinder class. I will not go into details because it's pretty low level. The only thing I want to show to you is the default locations, which is defined here. So the method called our default locations, and it says that the PHP files are located inside lib folder, the page files are located inside page folder, add-ons are inside ATK4 add-ons, and so on and so on. After that, it also defines the ATK location. So it says what is located inside ATK4 folder. And if you have a complex installation and you need to add more locations, you are more than welcome to copy this code inside your local application class and use it a couple of more times. Okay, so that I would like to conclude with that. Armin, what do you think we should do next?
Well, now that we changed the logo, what about like the general colors we are using at the moment? How would we go to change those?
Okay, so the next thing we'd like to talk about would be how styles sheets are working in Agile Toolkit. And as you can probably see from this file here, there are three main style sheets to Agile Toolkit. The first one is being the one from jQuery UI, and I'll show you how to change that. The second style sheet is the custom styles of the toolkit itself. And then finally, the third one is whatever custom things you would like to add and modify. So you could add your customization. Of course, if you are installing some add-on for jQuery, it might come with additional CSS files, and you might simply add them in here by adding new lines. Like, make sure the shared is being in your local folder, and you could add additional CSS files. Also, you see there is a template tag around this, so this particular file can be located either in a global folder or in a local folder. So it is up to you. If you want to replace it, you just need to create it inside the local folder. Don't change it inside ATK4. And the first area really is to change it for the jQuery UI. Agile Toolkit bases all of its CSS on top of jQuery UI CSS Framework. It's a popular framework, a little bit outdated but very compatible and really powerful. And they have this amazing thing called Themeroller, jQuery. This is it here, which already comes with a number of themes in a gallery, but also allows you to create your own theme and download it. We don't have much time for creating a new theme, so I will be using this theme over here, which is called UI Lightness. And I will show you how we can make Agile Toolkit look like this. But of course, you can do some modifications on your own. Okay, so I'm going to click the download button. I will make sure that all the elements are selected, and I click download. By default, I will get both jQuery UI and the theme, and because jQuery UI already is a part of the toolkit, I only need to change the theme. And this is the folder we're getting. So we don't need GS, we don't need development bundle, we're only interested in CSS and this thing over here. So first, I will go ahead and create the CSS directory in my default folder. Then I will place those two things inside. And finally, I need to rename the jQuery UI file to be simply called jQuery UI. Okay, by the rule of substitution, we should have a slightly different look now. And there it is.
So now that I can download so many themes from a theme roller, is there any way to make Agile Toolkit like skinnable?
Yes, that's what it's all about. But maybe let's get to that a little bit later. For now, I have only replaced the jQuery UI component, but there are two other components. I wanted to look into those as well, because if we're building a theme, it should look nice and consistent. One good way to see how all the UI looks like is to go to the special page called Playground. You can simply manually specify it, and it shows you all the different elements. So this is just HTML page, but it's like a test for all the HTML inside Agile Toolkit. You see that some of the icons are being applied. Some of the controls have changed to the new color, but we still get a lot of blue color, which is inconsistent now with our new theme. And the reason where where this blue thing is coming from, it is the second CSS file. So we need to look and adjust that accordingly. The reason why it is coming as a blue is because it uses CSS3 and additional enhancements such as shadows and gradients to make the default theme a bit nicer. But right now there is a couple of conflicts because of the colors. So first of all, let me show you how this second file is being generated. EDK. I'm going to show you the CSS file, and it looks very big, very complex, and don't please change that by hand because it is being produced from the LESS file. And the LESS is a language based on CSS. You can probably find out more about what is it. Dynamic style sheet language, and there are a lot of different resources about it, how well it is. But what it allows us to do is it allows us to define variables, different macros, and some other nifty things inside our CSS. And then we need applications such as the one I have installed here, called LESS.app. And it is built to compile the LESS file into a CSS file. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this ATK4 main LESS file, put it inside our local folder, inside here. Okay, so it's now in my local folder, and I will also, here it is, I will also drag it into my compiler here. And what it's doing is every time I change this file now, it is going to compile it, and I can also compile it manually, and it will create a CSS file. So for now, nothing should have changed really, because I simply took the default one and moved locally. So it's still the same picture here. And now we'll start changing the file, the LESS file, only the top of it. And we'll leave the rest as it is. As you can see, there are a number of parameters here. We can already pretty much understand what it is. Let's increase padding, for example, to 6. Make sure it's compiled. Okay, success. It compiles automatically. And now we have a bigger paddings, not only in the menu, but across all the elements inside the forms and so on. It still looks consistent, but it is outrageously large. So I will put it back. Possibly, no, you would like to decrease that and set it to 1 if you have a lot of, save. Okay, so if you have a lot of actual data and you want to make grids capable of holding more information, you might actually decrease the paddings and experiment with those values. And here are a couple of custom CSS3 definitions, which I'm going to comment for now. And this is what affects this color inconsistency.
And the reason is jQuery UI does not support CSS3, where Agile Toolkit does. Like now the color of the bars you see, they are from the jQuery UI, but Agile Toolkit would use what do you call it? The color fading part. What is it called? Yeah, Agile Toolkit uses gradient. Now jQuery can't deal with gradients, so we have to comment those lines out in order for the jQuery theme to show up properly. But if you, of course, if you comment it in and put the gradient colors in there that would match your jQuery template that you downloaded, then everything would be fine as well.
Yeah, right. So we still have the layout, and it just the colors are not really getting in our way. Let me log in as an admin here. As you can see, our change affected pretty much anything. Okay, if I go to CRUDs in here, you see those blue colors, and see the pop-ups look differently, and even the background looks better or consistent with the theme. Yeah, but it looks more like jQuery now. So what about those enhancements? Can we actually set them? And another question is, if I go to Playground, Agile Toolkit uses many more elements than the default jQuery elements, such as borders here. You see that are black, but again, it might be inconsistent with the theme. So we have the variable here called thborder, and we can fix that and set different. Like, let's make them red. I need to wait until it compiles. Okay, now the border is red. So a lot of things can be customized through this header here. And I have asked Dmitry, what would, if we want to use those CSS3 features and gradients, what kind of values I need to put here? And he gave me the values. So I need to fill them in now.
In case you don't know, Dmitry is the design god of Agile Toolkit. That's why he's in charge of getting the gradients right here that Romans is typing in now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll probably just change only a couple. Default. Am I messing them around? Yeah, you might ask why use gradients and the CSS3 features. This is good for, as Dmitry mentions, to scalability. So if we want to keep our amount of HTML code and images very lightweight, then we should use CSS3 features instead of imagery. Okay.
You're mixing up the lines. The order of the lines on top is different from the one that you're changing.
That's what kind of bothers me, because the hover is hover BG in here.
Yes, exactly.
Also, you can probably look at this thing in here, which is a class used by jQuery UI. And let me uncomment. That's why they don't let me change the CSS. I mess it up. Okay, so it looks consistent so far. Our grades looking nice again. Yeah, and I mean we can play with this a little bit. What can I break? So what if I change the hover, or let's say this. If I change this, what's going to happen? Okay, that the top color of the menu is being affected. If I change the other value, then it's lower color, yeah. So that's okay, another refresh. Yeah, so that's how we can define those gradients and make it feel even nicer. but for now I'll leave it how it is. And this is our new theme with nice buttons, and the whole thing is pretty much consistent. Okay, so so far we have changed the default theme from Themeroller, and we also customized this ourselves a little bit, although it's not mandatory. You can just comment this thing out. And in order to make those changes effective, you will need a LESS compiler. The one I'm using is for Mac. There are also LESS for Windows and for Linux as well. So it's a really nice tool. I suggest you or your designer to start looking into it and produce a nice code like this. It's really easy to change.
And as you have seen, the second Romans saves a LESS file, the compiler automatically compiles it to the CSS. So you don't really have to worry about all the technical background of exactly what LESS does. Just, you know, when you change something in the LESS file and you have LESS installed, it automatically creates a proper CSS file for you, and that's basically all you need to know.
Yeah, that's right. There is also another way how to deploy it, and it is on a client side where the JavaScript is parsing your LESS file and adding CSS rules, but I don't like to add additional processing on the browser side, so I prefer to stick to the server side. But again, you could do it either way. After all, you simply need to do the change inside your shared HTML, and you could do whatever you want.
Now, can we go back to the skin question?
Yeah. So now that we have our nice skin, the question would be, what if we want to ability to change those skins? And from the Pathfinder, we know that they might be at several locations for things. So how about we move this default folder into something else, and call it somehow differently, lost and found. Now, because I moved the folder away, it should revert to the default folder. I'll need to move that list back in. Come on. Okay, so I moved all our modifications aside for the CSS, images, and even the logo. And now I have two folders inside my templates. One is called default and another called lost and found. The switch for Agile Toolkit saying which of those should be used is located inside the main index.php file, this one, which says do not add anything to this file. And another argument here is exactly the skin. So if I type this, we should see our lost and found skin again. Okay, so for example, if you want to have a way for user to switch the skin, or maybe do some different installations of the same project with different looks and feels, this is what you can do. So and finally, you can also pick your skin like this, put it into the archive, and send to your friend and say, look, here's the skin I made. So it's not hard at all. It is actually pretty easy.
There's one addition we have to make regarding the CSS files. You have seen before, Romans showed the ATK main CSS, which is all the CSS stuff that ATK needs. If you need to customize the basic ATK CSS stuff, then you can create a new file, or I believe it's already there, that is called ATK custom CSS. It's very short, as you can see, hardly anything in there. But if you want to change something that is like if you want to override something that is already set in ATK main CSS, you wouldn't like change ATK main CSS. You would just override the value in ATK custom CSS, like having a different width of your body or a different background color of the body. You can change all of that there.
Okay, and again, you can use LESS if you want for this, but it's not mandatory. So what I'm going to do here is I'll add body, but ground color red. Just
Make it a light, make it a light gray, like something like hash sign. Well, let's do something FC, 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 FC. Sorry, 3 times FC, FC, FC. So we have a light gray there, and probably we can hardly see it. We can see the difference a little bit.
Can you?
Yes, I can. I have a good screen, mate.
I don't, so I need to. Okay, yeah, so it does have an effect. Yeah, I'll leave it at this, and probably maybe around the edges of here. You can, but what I was, if you need to add additional CSS files, this is the file you put them in. So you create this custom CSS file, and you put stuff here. Also, there is a couple of lines for navigation. Again, you might want to change that and put the footer on the left side if you want. So yeah, that's it.
Well, talking about the footer, if we want to change the design, and let's say we want, well, I want a different footer. My message should be just copyright 2012. Where can I change the footer?
Footer as well as a header all sit in the shared HTML file. So the logic of this file is the following. We have a couple of tags which are necessary, which is a JS include. This is how Agile Toolkit can add additional lines for including things. And at next tags we have document ready, which needs to be there. So if you're building your own shared HTML file, you can do that. You still need to make sure those tags are present. Otherwise, you'll get in trouble. The menu here, it is actually optional. If you remember, we had a front end in here, and we're adding the menu manually. You see this line here? It assumes that your shared HTML file has the menu tag. If I delete the tag, I would also need to delete the PHP lines. Maybe I want to draw my own menu. Then in that case, I can delete that and remove the lines. And then
I have a question about the tag itself. I think we heard in an earlier session that we have self-closing tags and how to close tags. Now this menu tag, for example, doesn't look like a self-closing tag to me.
Right, yeah. So we have tags which are self-closing, which have the dollar here, and then there are tags which needs to be closed, like a template, and this is a closing tag for template. If the tag is like this, that means this is inside is a kind of a default value, but in some cases it might be interpreted differently. For example, here's another curious tag called page. The purpose of this tag is to take the name of the page. Let's say admin. I put admin in here, and then convert it into the proper URL leading to that page. Sorry, I'm making a mistake here because I'm not adding the right shared file. I need the one inside lost and found. Okay, so I was changing the page for the logo. Okay, here. So let's say I put admin in here and I refresh the page. Now if I mouse over here and I click, you see it goes to question mark page equals admin. So different tags can use their content to their advantage, and in some cases, like a footer, it has some content inside and it stays there because this tag is not being used by the PHP. In other cases, like a menu, the contents of that, which says menu is not defined, is being changed by a dynamic content. Okay, so back to footer. We needed to change the text of the footer, and as you see, there is a tag already, but this default tag is not used. So what I might do is just say copy this on 12. I'll do this instead. And as you can see, oh, there's my spelling mistake. So we changed the footer now.
Yes. Now, what if I wanted to have, let's say, a two-column layout? So we see the big column where we see the grid at the moment. What if I want to have a nice little column to the right side of a page?
Okay, so since I'm already having this shared HTML file, I'm going to show you how this can be done on a global level. So all the pages, including the login page, will receive this modification. But then I will probably move it on the page level and see how you could customize individual pages without affecting all. So and I think I need to introduce you to is the grid system used in Agile Toolkit. Let me open. There is also documentation on this, but I'll stick to the playground. And here's the grid system, and you could simply inspect things in here. And actually, the whole page, you can use that whole page to your advantage and use some of the HTML from here.
The playground, by the way, if you don't know, it comes with every installation of Agile Toolkit. So when you download it, you'll always have the playground with you. The grid system is just a very easy way to, how a page is like broken up into different sections, and like it means that you can divide the page on wherever you are on the page into smaller portions, and it's very handy to come up very fast with a good like design template for pages, because any object could have the width of span 1 or span 2, span 3, depending on what you want to achieve. For example, in the Lost and Found project, maybe we have like a page that has 3 columns, one to the left, one to the right, let's say, and they have a span width of 3 each, which leaves us for a span width of 6 for the middle part of our page. And it can be achieved in a very, very simple way using this grid system. It's a nice invention.
Yeah, okay. So I think designers, again, we're just talking here, like 2 developers talking to each other about the design. But I think the reason why people like grids is because they make site consistent. It's like if you open a magazine, you have columns in there, and this is what people eyes are used to. So if you position things, having columns is always good. Plus, it also maintains the proper gaps between things. So it is a really nice way how a non-designer could come up with a good way to build layouts. And in this case, we giving 10 columns to the left or content, and 2 columns to this thing on the right. And as you can see, on all the pages, these have been now applied. Another curious thing is that even if there was a form on the left, it automatically adjusts itself. We have flexible forms, and even if there was another nested grids in the content, they will again properly adjust themselves, because we are using what's called a fluid grids. They automatically resize and adjust themselves according to the parent width. So you can see it's not something you would always want. Sometimes you would say, what if I want a specific width for our page, such as let's say 800, so it fits all the things, I don't know. Then you could, okay, I will be using a custom CSS now, and I need to set either body or this, doesn't really matter. Well, I'll go with the body probably.
Yeah, what you would do now is, for example, you would say width 800, and and add some. Well, look at it how it looks now.
Okay, so yeah, we have our content now in a box.
And now make the windows smaller, like smaller than 800 in width.
It always sticks. It's always the same width.
Exactly. Okay, back to our columns. Now, what if we wanted to have the column for each page, like individually, not over the whole thing?
Okay, let's go there. But first, I added a test here, which is a static text. And I also was showing how you can do tags. So first of all, let me add a sample tag in here, my tag, and we'll close it here. First of all, this is not going to affect anything on the display. And those tags are automatically removed by the template parser as the HTML is being prepared. But now I can go inside a front end, and I don't know if that was mentioned before, but every view class in Agile Toolkit, which actually includes the page object is view, it derives from view, and the application class as well, it derives from view. So the application have the template, which is shared HTML by default, and then each page also have a template. And each of those views has a property called template, which points to the template parser object. And I can interact with that template parser and set this my tag to the random value from 1 to 100. So every time I'm going to refresh page now, I will see a different number in here, 37, 45, and so on. So now we have a little bit of dynamic content inside our tag. This is only the first step. This is not necessarily the best way. I'm just trying to show you step by step how things can be added here. The next option is instead of coming up with the content manually, so because here we need to produce this HTML string. Okay, so let me add one more thing. If I type bold here like this, you might expect that thing to be in bold, but instead it automatically quotes this. This is done for security, and it puts your HTML in there. If you want to actually your content to be treated as HTML, you need to use set HTML here, and then it's actually passed and inserted as HTML. Okay. More on this template. The template engine is called SMLite. This is the class for this template engine, and you can get more information online. Okay.
Number 8.
Okay. Yeah, so just called manager, and then there is about the tags, a little bit of parsing, and there was a
introduction to templates at the top of the page.
Yeah, and there is a big link here, not so big, but this is the REST introduction to templates. It just everything is described here, so it's not duplicated again. How you can how it works with views, how you use it directly, and so on and so on. So there's a lot of, and then you can also see how you could create. Like we're going to get into this very shortly, so I don't want to be too fast on this. Okay, next thing, instead of specifying our HTML directly, we could insert object inside that bit of the template, and this is done by the construction you're already familiar with, and hello world, which is our valid object, And as a third argument, we need to specify my tag now. And you can see that the hello world is being inserted into the tag we prepared for it. If I omit this argument, by default it uses the tag called content. It's this one over here. Okay, so we got a global template modification now, and we globally added the hello world to all the pages, and our object output is being inserted here. This could be good, for example, if you have recent changes or maybe a news on the side and you'd like to pack it up as your own widget or your own view and put it on all the pages. This is actually a good strategy to do so. Okay, Armin was asking me, what do we do if we want that to be on an individual page? So let's now talk about the pages. So I'm going to leave shared HTML alone for a while. I will restore the content as it was before. This will give me the error that my tag is not present. So I'll comment this out. And for now we have the restored page. Okay, next, should we work with which page you'd like to do the modifications on?
Let's go to report an item.
Okay, let's go to report an item page.
And let's make a column on the right-hand side, which gives maybe hints about how to, like a little help box where it says how to report a lost item properly. Right.
Okay. So first thing I wanted to tell you about the view is that it may have a method called default template, and if this method is present, it needs to simply return information where the template for that particular view can be found. And because page is view as well, we can specify template for the whole page, and that's what we're doing now. My page. As you can see, it now looks for the my page file and it looks inside the templates. I'm going to create templates, lost and found, and then my page HTML. And I'll need to do this. Okay, so I'm putting back exactly the same thing which was on our shared HTML file. Let's see if it works. And as you can see, it's still there. It's back. I don't have the same element on other pages. It's only this page, because this page has a template. Okay.
Well, now this is a bit of a static thing. Could we put dynamic elements in this column as well?
Yeah, sure. How about I go a little bit into the details how we can create our custom views and what we can actually do with them. And again, I think you asked me before, what's the difference between the view and the page?
Yeah.
Okay. So the page responds to a certain URL in my browser, item/report. It is mapped into the page, and page is served as a container and also the receiver of user's intent or the request in this case. The views are more passive. They just sit in their class and they're not appearing automatically. But then pages can include some of the views, such as form, Some of the views might be more generic, some other views can be more specific to whatever they're doing. And of course, as a developer, you can define your own views and include them on the pages. And this is what we're going to do now. We want to have a help column on the right. So first, let's create a class. And we'll do that by building a PHP file first. Oh, there is one already. I was supposed to delete this before. I was just playing with this. Okay, so here's a example view I just made for this session, and it extends the basic view. We don't even need an init function for now, but we redefine the template. And I want this to be on my page, on my report page, so I'm going to add it, this view help, and I need to specify my tag. Now, when you're adding view, you need to be cautious where you're adding them, because if that tag is defined inside the page, you need to add the view inside the page. But if that tag would be inside the shared template, which is associated with the application, you will need to add it into the API, not this. Okay, let's see. Okay, the view was added properly, but it couldn't find the template. So the next step would be to create this template for the view. Do I have a view folder here? I don't. Oops, no. Okay, view, and inside the view, let's create a file now. By the way, guys, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat, and we will be addressing them. Don't forget that you can ask questions. HTML. Okay. Wow. Okay, so now we have a custom view on the right, which is associated with a template which has blah inside it. As a next step, I would like to go back to our playground page, which already have lots of different HTML things in here, and let's just look what would be the most suitable for us to be used as a help thing. So there are some definitions listed in there. We can use pretty much anything from here, and let's use this
Info looks good.
Yeah, let's use this box here. So I'm going to inspect that and probably take all this div, okay, and simply paste in here just as it is. I'm not going to do anything else. Going back to my report page, refreshing it, and I have a block of information on the right. Pretty good for a non-designer. We actually, it looks much better, and the only thing we got from our designer is the logo and a little bit of colors in there. Okay, next, the content in here is static at the moment. So what can we do to make it dynamic? And as you know already, we're adding another tag in here. Let's call it content. And again, I'm not deleting anything. I'm simply adding the content tag around, so it preserves existing functionality. And it's only when I start messing with that content tag, then it changes. Okay. Should we go with the dynamic lorem ipsum object?
Yes, why not?
Okay, the lorem ipsum is a standard view of Agile Toolkit. which you can use as a test. And we need to put, okay, because it's content, we don't really need to specify where that should be located. It automatically goes inside. Another thing about lorem ipsum is that we can specify how much of it we want by using set length. Okay, other way around. Okay, just a small paragraph of lorem ipsum. And now we have a pretty awesome view, and I have to say that it's possible to use this view even several times, and you can put it in all sorts of places. And let's put it inside the form as well, just to make things interesting. Form before the button, yeah. So it will be between the fields and the button. You see, so it automatically adjusts itself to the proper size, and it fits all sorts of different places. Now, the next question is one final thing we need to take care of is we need to set the ID of this object. And the reason why we need that, so that we can interact with the object dynamically. I will show it by adding a button here. Button. Oops. Okay, now all instances have a sample button with them. And when the button is clicked, I want all of this view to be reloaded. Okay, JavaScript is still on our agenda, but not for this meeting, for some other time. And so in theory, now if I click the button, then this view should refresh, but it's not refreshing. And the reason is because jQuery is unable to find this view in HTML. It needs a little bit of help from us. And we can help by finding the ID here. And that's how we define the ID. This is again one other special tag which contains the ID of the current view.
So whenever you need IDs, you should never ever give them like custom names, because you have this special variable that does all the thinking for you. So you will never ever have to will mix up IDs. So always use the underscore name variable, and you'll be just fine.
That's right. So we have three completely independent views here, and as you can see, each of them is actually interacting with itself. They're not messing with each other, and we haven't added a lot of code. We haven't even added any JavaScript at all. They're capable of doing some JavaScript. Okay, I'm going to clean it up a little bit. Meanwhile, Armin, tell me what should we talk about next?
Well, now that we already have the dynamic elements, we showed the playground.
Self-awareness, right? I remember. We wanted to tell everyone how this view should know a little bit more about what's around it. Right? Like what page is it on? Okay, so right now I'm inside this help view. I'm just adding lorem ipsum. I can also add. There are a couple of other objects which is handy to use. H2 1, 2, 3. That's going to be a header of help. Too big. Maybe H4. Okay, that's not working. If you look inside here, instead of putting that inside the content, I think the reason why it's been dropped down is because okay, let me just inspect HTML and see why it doesn't like that. Maybe if I put that in front of an icon, it will work better. I'm not sure, but let's try. So in order to put something before that, I'll need another tag. Let's call it header. And this time, instead of adding something there, I'll do template set 1, 2, 3. And it's actually better. I only need to have H3 around it. Okay, looks better.
You are a great designer, Romans.
I'm not, I'm just now playing and trying things. You noticed I used not set, but try set. So the way how it's different, if the tag is not found, it will not complain, it will simply ignore the whole line. And for the header here, let's start by trying to see what the page we are currently on. And there is a variable inside the API called page. It should say items underscore purport. So pages always convert slash into underscore. Okay.
And this is kind of a very handy feature, because imagine you would have help pages or help views on many different pages. Your view help class could look for what page am I on, and then look in the database for the help features that exactly match this special page, and you would only have one class that deals with it all, just because the class itself knows on which page it's on, or the view knows on which page it's on, and that's very handy.
Okay. I'm just building it manually inside the PHP for now. Of course, it could be in database, and we can use our newly acquired understanding of models to fetch by the keyword. And maybe that would be a good homework for someone. Yeah, and instead of lorem ipsum, I suppose we could simply again use template set this text, and we use this API page. Of course, it could be improved further. No such tag content.
Item report or items report? But it didn't show anything, did it?
No, it's item report.
No, it's items, yeah.
Maybe it. It looks like it's not populating content at all. You know what? Let's have what is not using this either.
And are we loading the correct?
No, the thing here is, okay, I needed to explain that. So you see, I'm setting something inside the content, which is I'm doing that directly inside a template, and then I'm adding a button. And this is actually a typical error you can run in. And button also goes into the content. But later on, when the rendering starts, the button overrides the existing text in here, so it's being cleaned out. If I would comment the button, we would be able to see some text in there. Yeah, but because of the button, it overrides. So if we're using within some tag an object, we need to make sure other things are also object. We could use text, perhaps, or let's see if we can have text. Okay, now we have both the text and the button. Actually, we don't need button. So I'm going to hide it. Or, no, actually, instead of the button, we could create the ability to edit the text. Again, I'm just starting to go forward a little bit and experimenting. Also, instead of text, you can use view. There is a really small change between text and the view. View adds the div around the paragraph, while text doesn't. So I think you can't reload text, and while with view you can. But I suppose you just use view, and then set will change the contents of that. View is more consistent anyway. Okay, so we have a dynamic view which is aware of which page it is on. The last thing I wanted to show you is how to make it as easy as possible to not to have pages with help, because other pages don't have help. This page doesn't have help, and welcome page doesn't have help. How we can make it super easy for us to create helpful pages? We start by creating a new class inside lib. Let's call it lib helpful page. And this class would inherit helpful page, extends page, and it needs to do two things. First of all, we need to set a default template for that class, and the other thing, we need to add a help on the side. And that's it. Now, if we have a page which is our default page like this, all it takes for us to convert it into helpful page is simply inherit it from a different class, and it becomes helpful. Now let's go to list, and list wasn't helpful at all, so let's make it helpful. And now you see lists are also helpful, but it doesn't have.
And we see we have no help for this page.
Yeah, that's okay. We can add that later on, or move it into database.
And now imagine if you would have like a page, and around this page you have like 2 or 3 different major designs. Like on one page, on the one pages you have like a 3-column design. On other pages you only need a 2-column design. So you can, by creating what the Romans just did by your own class, that some pages can then extend this class. Like, for example, you could have a page like 3-column page, 2-column page, and your actual pages just inherit from that classes. And that's a very mighty tool to have all over your pages, easy access to your different layouts you want to have.
That's right. And when you're designing, I suppose, your application, it's pretty important that you think about what types of page you're going to have. Maybe one page will be listing items, and you will build the specific template for that page. Then you would do something else for a bunch of other pages. you can create whole sections of your site dedicated to the help, and then use different layouts in there. And it's a good way of structuring your application.
So the last thing that I have on my list here is talking about changing the design. Is when you go back to the report an item page, and we see this form, and this form looks, well, maybe it needs some enhancement or some customization. What if I wanted like to change like the width of the label for each of those form elements?
Yeah, okay. So one of really significant advantages of Agile Toolkit is that all the elements produced inside a native HTML and CSS. So you get to...
Romans, the volume of your voice kind of differs quite a bit. You need to keep the same distance to the microphone, I believe.
Believe me, I have... I am... Okay, I'll try again.
Yeah.
So one of the main advantages of Agile Toolkit is that all the content it produces is a standard HTML. And that means it still applies. It follows all the CSS rules, so you can use CSS to do anything. And yeah, like in this example, let's say I have a report an item which has a form, but then also there are probably some other forms like user preferences in here. And I want to change a report an item form, but I don't want that to affect user preferences. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to inspect it and see the unique ID on that form. This is a very unreliable thing to base your CSS on, but it still works. So ID is being built starting from the name of the application, then you have the page, items report, and then finally the name of the class, which is form. And this ID is unique for all the Agile Toolkit applications. So each view you have, it will produce unique ID. If you go to a different page, it will have different IDs. So let me go back to the custom CSS here and add a little bit of style in here. What should we say? Let's say border. Let's add border around this. Okay, we have border around this form, but not the other form. So that's one way targeting a single form and doing something with HTML. Of course, we don't necessarily need to target the form. We can also target things inside that form, like labels of that form. Now you see all the labels are as well having this red ribbon around them. And what we wanted to do is to change the width of this label. So to redefine that, we first need to understand which CSS value sets it and how. So I'm going to go into the label, and we see there is a width of 7 being defined, and this is a selector being used. So I'm going to copy the selector inside here, but instead of ATK form, I will use the ID. This, and I will also set width 20 elements. Okay, so now what happens is, first of all, it's not targeting these labels anymore. It targets properly only labels on the left. If I go into inspect, you see it's actually takes much more space. But now that the problem is the fields, they're kind of they don't have a sufficient amount of gap on the left, and so they kind of go over label and jump to the next line. So I need now this selector and change the left margin from 9 to, I'm not sure how much. Okay, again I'm using that particular form, field set, field, say 22. Okay, and now we have a label with a much wider gap on the left. For this form only, the other form is, as you can see, it's unaffected. Okay, so that's how we can use CSS to target individual objects. Again, I already said that this is not the preferred way. If you want to do it better, then let's have a custom class, wide form, for example. And the next thing we need, we also need to go to report page. We have form here, and we need to add wide form class to this form. Okay, so it is still wide, but now I can apply this class to as many forms as I want, and I will receive this CSS tweak. This form is still as it was before. Some of the additional classes, if you go to playground, there are actually two grid implementation in Agile Toolkit. One is the default basic grid, and also you can add additional class bordered or zebra to a grid, which makes this red things around it. Maybe this is something you want to have on your grid. Let's try and add that. But the only place where we have grids at the moment is admin. Okay, so it's probably the last thing I'm going to show today before we go into the questions. And I want to show it how it can be done in two ways. First of all, individual grid. Okay, I'm going to page admin. I know we're using CRUD here, and I know that CRUD is relying on a grid. I also know that the grid, as any other view, has a method default template. Grid. And I can actually search for that method, and I can see that the template for grid is also called grid. And you can go to the grid HTML template, and this is where it is in template shared. That's the grid, and it has a bunch of tags which I can take advantage of. Even though I'm not changing the grid, I can play with those things. Yeah, okay, so what I have here. Well, let's say I want a grid template to have additional class. I can copy that, create a template inside Lost and Found file. I'm going to call it grid HTML. I paste the same content in here, and I'm going to add zebra border. What should happen now is all the grids in my particular skin would now have this modification, See, it looks pretty customized to me.
Couldn't we add to the grid, like with 8 class zebra bordered? We couldn't add that like that?
Yeah, we could also use that. So if I remove that and I put tag called class in here.
Ah, okay. That's what I was referring to. So the tag class is not already in the template for the grid.
Yeah, we don't have it by default. So grids are back to normal now. And let me just close some of the pages here. Too many pages. And I'm going back to admin page. And let's say I want that only for users. That's our user CRUD here. CRUD equals this. And then use, again, you're probably familiar with that, but if user CRUD grid, add class zebra border. Okay, did it work?
I don't know. Haven't seen the page. The user should have the class, but
that's the first one. Yeah, great. Yeah, so we added to CRUD. We should. Thanks, Imans.
Ah.
Yeah, someone is following. Okay, now we have these classes for the user, but others the same as they were before. Okay, so that's I think that's should conclude what we are going to explain for this podcast. And Armin and others, go ahead with your questions. Let's have about 20 minutes for the questions, and then we're gonna close this down. The first question, maybe you read the question. I will try to answer them.
Yeah, I'm completely happy. I don't have questions.
There's one question from Imans on the chat.
Oh, sorry. What's the strategy of naming folders, files, classes, etc.? I mean, pages, for example, are always lowercase. Models and views use first uppercase letter, etc. Is this important at all? How you name page file, which consists of more than one name, for example, person type?
Okay. We try to follow some patterns with Agile Toolkit, like having the fields called IDs and using the first upper letter for objects. But again, it's not the rule. You could if you're designing your application, you can name pages and classes as you see fit. One thing is, which I think is important, people should know that if you're installing your application on Windows or Mac, then the uppercase and lowercase, it doesn't matter. But if you go and install it on Linux, Linux is case sensitive. So if you're using the lowercase for files, but you're using uppercase for classes, you might run into the problem where some files will not be recognized and will not be loaded. I think that happened with you, Armin, by the way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so it was working for you on the Windows. Now, next thing is how exactly we structure the whole thing. And as you already have noticed, probably we call inside lib, we have a front end, which is our API class. Then we create a couple of folders like model, view, list, possibly a page. And the idea here, if we have many objects of the same nature, we'd like to have them in the same folder. For models, that's a rule that models have the model in front of them. For view, it's not really a rule, but it is a preferred way to do it. So view help and view item list. For pages, I have created helpful page for now, but theoretically it could be page underscore helpful page. And then again, if you feel that you are going to have many types of pages, you can also create folders in there and organize some sort of your own structure in there.
By the way, now I have a question. Why did you put the helpful page there? It shouldn't it be in page anyway? Like
well, no,
it's
because
now it's now in the lib folder, but
okay, and this is the security reason. So security in Agile Toolkit dictates that anything accessible through the web should be under page. So well, let me actually try and load helpful page in here. And you see it says it's not found, and the reason why it only looked under page for the helpful page. It doesn't matter that it was inside the lib, but we only want pages to be accessible through the URL. But I can create a page like what was it? Register here? No. Items report here, and I can extend another class. And now that's now a different thing. When I'm extending, it will look inside the lib class. It's like a library.
Yes.
So those are not accessed directly, and anything in page can be accessed directly. So when you're placing things, be careful where it's being stored. Another thing, if you inheriting pages, you might be actually able to extend one page from another. Let me try that page. Okay, so what we're doing here is we have page items report extend page item list. And now we have a combination of two pages in here, and the whole thing is messed together. So we have a report page and a list page, and they both initialize, add their own object. Okay, I'm gonna take it back. But you can also place pages inside your page folder and then extend from them. But you need to be mindful that the user can access them directly.
Good.
One way to stop is to call the class abstract.
Yeah.
You can also do that, which will not let them use that particular class directly, but it still will be fine to extend it.
Emens wants to know, so my model should be person type. How should I call CRUD page for person type? Like person, then big T, person type, person underscore type. I think you need to explain like what underscore and folder, how that goes together.
Okay, so as you see slashes in here, like items / report, and when we install htaccess, which we still haven't done, it will look like this: items lost and found / items / report. And if you want it to be like this, you can do it like this. If you want them to be together, again, this is up to you, and maybe your team wants your projects to have items report like this, or maybe report items. It pretty much up to you. But you need to know that the slash here converts to the page folder. So if it's items / report, it will look for a page called file called report inside items. We specifically try to make it different between how pages are named and how models are named, so that there is this awareness of what is view and what is page. Again, no any strict rules, up to you. So
any more questions?
Yeah, for pages, I prefer to keep them in a lowercase and make sense. That's the most important thing. For models, again, I prefer to use the capital letters, and if there is many of similar models, I would like to put them inside a subfolder.
How to detect if there are any changes in form? For example, I have a button in form to navigate away from it, but I want to show confirmation alert in case if data in any field has been changed and not saved in the database.
Okay,
Like,
yeah, good question. But actually, people usually ask me, there is a, if form is being reloaded, it automatically checks whether or not it's being changed. And sometimes this is not what people want. So I'd like to show you first the class here. Pay close attention to what happens here. It has three classes: ATK form, white form, ATK form widget, and that's all. As I change something here, you see, no, actually, here, this is the class form changed. So this class was added automatically when I changed something, and you can actually check that and make sure that when you are navigating someplace else, you don't have any forms which are changed. Let's actually build a jQuery for that form. Okay, we have one form which is being changed. Yeah, if I refresh the page, 0, click here, 1. No, but it's not model dirty. It's at the moment the whole thing happens in the browser, so we deal with JavaScript. Yeah, but there is a built-in protection. If we have a let's say this page report, let me just quickly add another button on this report here. Submit. Okay, let's say reset, and what it's going to do when clicked, it's going to form GS refresh. Oh, reload, sorry, reload. Okay, so let's also turn this on, see what's happening. So if I click reset, you see it reloads the form, and obviously I don't see it because it's happened automatically. If I change something and I click that, it will automatically ask me that the changes will be lost. If I click OK, it goes ahead and reloads it. We have a bit of time. Yeah, I know, maybe 10 minutes, 9 minutes. So go ahead. Wow.
well, you do it like that.
Okay, so you have the following models: territory, address, and I need to know to do two things. You know what? Maybe instead of trying to answer it right now, instead I'd ask you to put this question through to the discussion group. Also, if someone doesn't know, Agile Toolkit has a group on Google Groups. Well, you can either find it through Google Groups. Oh, it wants my password now. That's one way to ask. If you're asking a question which is specifically to your implementation, you want to know what's the best practice, what is best models to use, then please ask your question in a Google group of Agile Toolkit. On the other hand, if it's a more generic question, just maybe some principle, you should ask that better on Stack Overflow using ATK4 tag. Yeah, that's a good question. Connect to more than one database. Thanks Martinez for the question. And this is kind of a generic question, really suitable for Stack Overflow. But the question Emons is asking there, it's more more proper for the group here. And I think it's well, it is called a development group, but don't worry, ask anything in there. If we're going to be getting too much traffic, I will create a separate group for Agile Toolkit users, I suppose, and we'll have them there. Right. So I think that's all. If there are no other,
I'm out as well because I have to go now.
okay.
Romans, I see you tomorrow.
Yeah.